vision or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Pat Connolly, and for the next hour I'll be reading from various issues of the Batavia Daily News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. And let's start with today's Thursday, July 30th issue of the Daily News Online. From the front page, several long articles. I will abbreviate them. Let's start with the data center discussion. Data center discussion, Hochul leads moratorium roundtable, by Sal Hauser, Henrietta. Genesee County Legislature Chair Christian Juncker, Republican, Alba, says Stream's $19.5 billion proposed data center in the town of Alabama is an essential piece of Genesee County's future. On Wednesday, he made the facility's case to a skeptical audience. Governor Kathy Hochul convened a roundtable discussion on data centers in Henrietta Wednesday morning, soliciting area officials' input as the state weighs its next steps to regulate hyperscale data centers, whose development is temporarily on hold under a year-long moratorium Hochul signed on July 14th. Wednesday's discussion was the fourth in a series of listening sessions that Hochul has held throughout the state, following similar sessions in the Albany, Buffalo, and Long Island areas that focused on environmental impacts, noise issues, and water use associated with large data centers. Of the 10 participants at the Henrietta discussion, mainly Rochester area elected officials, business leaders, and residents, the majority focused on power use, urging Hochul to require that data center developers bring new infrastructure to support their projects. Hochul said that while the growing use of artificial intelligence makes data centers a necessary reality, communities should demand concessions from developers rather than providing them with tax incentives. Current plans for the Stream data center include $1.44 billion in taxpayer incentives provided by the Genesee County Economic Development Center. Let me find the continuation here. Which owns the site on which the facility would be built. Quoting Hochul, I think. These companies are not receiving tax breaks in many parts of our county. They don't have to get tax breaks, she said. Let's rethink what that looks like, keeping that money directly in communities and not giving additional benefits to people who really want to come and use your resources. If you want to come and use our talent, our people, our great workforce, people who will build this, and our water, and our energy, and air, and noise, you have to make contributions back to the community. End of the quote from Kathy Hochul. Juncker sought to show that Stream's proposal is different from others. He praised Stream's credentials, saying the facility, quoting, is designed with minimal resource impact, end quote, and pointing to the facility's use of a closed-loop cooling system, the elimination of diesel generators from its site plan, and the positive results of outside analyses of its noise study. Okay, let's abbreviate that one there. If you'd like to hear the rest of the article, please do call the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service at 716-821-5555. I'll be abbreviating many articles as they are very long, so that number again is to call Niagara Falls Radio Reading Service for the continuation of articles is 716-821-5555. Let's go on to the next article. Still on the front page of the Thursday, July 30th issue of the Daily News Online. I'll read part of this article also. WROTB reports record second quarter distributions. WROTB being the Western Regional Off-Track Betting Corporation. WROTB reports record second quarter distributions. Across the board increases as director asks, "Can it continue?" By Mike Petinella. Western Regional Off-Track Betting Corporation is riding the crest of a wave. Directors of the public benefit company, based at Batavia Downs Gaming, on Wednesday received an extremely positive report concerning attendance, food and beverage sales, hotel room sales, and gaming proceeds for the first 6 months of 2026 compared to the same time period in 2025. Additionally, President/Chief Executive Officer Byron Brown announced that the $3,725,429 to be distributed to WROTB's 17-member municipalities through earnings and surcharge for the second quarter this year marks the largest second quarter distribution in the corporation's history. I'm going to read that again. Additionally, President/Chief Executive Officer Byron Brown announced that the $3,725,429 million to be distributed to WROTB's 17-member municipalities through earnings and surcharge for the second quarter this year marks the largest second quarter distribution in the corporation's history. From January through June of this year, the corporation has generated $6,717,130 in earnings and surcharge distributions for the municipalities, which include Genesee, Livingston, Orleans, and Wyoming counties. That figure is an increase of $909,523, or 16%, compared to the $5,807,607 in distributions for the same period in 2025. Brown, in a press release, said, quoting, "The record distribution reflects the continued strong performance of Batavia Downs Gaming and Hotel and Western Regional's ongoing commitment to maximizing the financial return provided to its municipal owners." And let's cut that article there. Still on the front page about this paper itself, Hawley recognizes the Daily News as historic business by Sal Hauser, Batavia. Recognizing 148 years of local news coverage, Assemblyman Steve Hawley, Republican, Batavia, presented a proclamation Wednesday formally inducting the Daily News into a statewide registry of historic businesses. Presenting the citation at the Daily News East Main Street office, Hawley lauded the publishing company for its long tenure and prominent role documenting the region's history, factors he noted in his nomination of the paper to the New York State Historic Business Preservation Registry. Founded on June 25th, 1878 by brothers Malcolm and Samuel Mix and editor W.H. Brandish, the Daily News was the first enduring daily newspaper in the city, coming after a series of attempts and weeklies beginning as early as 1819. During its 148 years, the paper has changed hands 3 times, in 1881, 1981, and 2023, and adapted to new technologies such as the Internet in 2008 and social media in 2010. Today, the Daily News directly employs 16 reporters, editors, advertising representatives, and office staff in Batavia, as well as roughly 10 contracted delivery drivers and freelance reporters. In his proclamation, Hawley noted that the paper's 148-year history in Batavia makes it, quoting, one of the region's longest operating businesses and institutions, end quote, and praised the paper for displaying remarkable resilience and adaptability. Those traits serve the core purpose of quickly and accurately informing area residents, said senior managing editor Ben Beagle, who accepted Hawley's citation Wednesday. Let's cut it there. This is actually a paid advertisement on page 2, but it might be worth mentioning. It is for the 154th anniversary Pioneer Picnic, that is, the Rotary Club's 35th annual Pioneer Picnic Chicken Barbecue, which takes place on Sunday, August 2nd, at the Pioneer Cabin at 3727 Walker Road in Perry, New York, on Silver Lake, with the chicken barbecue starting at 12 noon. From page A3 of the July 30th paper online, the local news page. Perry man accused of threatening officers, from Perry. A village man has been charged after threatening officers with a large knife, Perry police said. Police were conducting a welfare check Monday when William A. Wharf allegedly displayed the knife in close quarters and said he was homicidal. The incident was resolved when Wharf put the knife down, police said. No injuries were reported. Wharf, 57, was arrested Tuesday, police said. He was charged with second-degree menacing and menacing a police officer. He was released on his own recognizance. Okay, another local article from Batavia. Milling work planned in city of Batavia. Milling and paving work is set for August on Colonial Boulevard. Oh, okay, so street repairs. Milling will take place 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. August 5th, Town of Batavia officials said. Okay, let's go on. On the agricultural front, GLOW counties eligible for disaster aid. Frosts, freeze, and flooding created spring challenges. By Matt Sertle, Batavia. Agricultural producers in the GLOW region are eligible for disaster aid after a particularly rough spring. I believe that GLOW means Genesee, Livingston, Orleans, and Wyoming counties. Yes, that's correct. So those are the GLOW counties: Genesee, Livingston, Orleans, and Wyoming. So starting over, agricultural producers in the GLOW region are eligible for disaster aid after a particularly rough spring. The United States Department of Agriculture announced the aid Monday in connection with frosts, freezes, excessive rain, and flash floods, which occurred sporadically from March to May. Eligible applicants include farmers and ranchers who operate in a disaster-designated county and have experienced substantial damage or loss, USDA officials said in a news release. Applicants must demonstrate an inability to obtain sufficient credit from other sources to cover their disaster-related needs. Application deadline is March 23rd, and I'll cut that article there. Another article, same page, A3, Wyoming Foundation announces grant recipients. Letchworth State Park. The Wyoming Foundation has awarded nearly $64,000 in grants to 15 nonprofit organizations for its 2026 grant cycle. The awards were announced July 23rd during a ceremony at the Glen Iris Inn, hence Letchworth State Park. It highlighted the Wyoming Foundation's long history of community support over the past 50 years. Several of the grants were funded or co-funded by Wyoming Foundation clients to increase the impact. And just a quick list of those projects. Wyoming Foundation grants include the Arts Council for Wyoming County, Project Stork Incorporated, Shake on the Lake, and Western New York Rural Health Education Center Incorporated. And the Wyoming Foundation / client grants are to Arts for Learning Western New York, Glow YMCA, Horses Healing Hearts Incorporated, Insightful Strides, and Wyoming County Business Education Council. And the additional projects are Attica Presbyterian Church, Attica Area Community Choral, Cordelia A. Green Library, Eagle Free Library, Project Read of Wyoming County, Wyoming Free Circulating Library Association, and Wyoming County Business Center, Inc. And I'll cut that one there. Still page A3, local news. A community festival on August 22nd. Grange plans community festival, East Pembroke. The East Pembroke Grange will host a community festival August 22nd. The event will take place 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Grange Hall on 2610 School Street. Free food and drinks will be available, along with music, informational displays, and a quarter carnival for children. We are celebrating the repair of our floor, which was a major undertaking and was made possible through a generous grant awarded to the Grange by the Community Foundation of Rochester Historical Preservation Grant, Grange officials said in a news release. We truly appreciate the support of this great organization and look forward to opening our building to many more community events. Please help us in building and celebrating our community. Now, I've been abbreviating these articles, so if you would like to hear the remainder, they came from page A3 of the July 30th issue, and you can hear the remainder if you would like by calling 716-821-5555. Let's move along into the paper. From the opinion page, let's look at one letter to the editor. This is a letter to the editor by a reader by the name of David Giacherio of Kent. Editor. Oh, I'm sorry, the headline is Don't Fall for Artificial Intelligence Hype. Editor. Consider, within the broad context of AI, artificial intelligence, consider within the broad context of AI the proposed data center at the Stamp site in Alabama. AI technology is experiencing a huge financial bubble, with investments far out of line with likely future earnings. This bubble will likely pop, with severe negative consequences for data centers. This systemic vulnerability has been overlooked in the irrational rush to invest in AI. Arguments against data centers often focus on local issues like land use, excessive power use, large tax breaks for the ultra-rich, few jobs created, noise, infrasound, heat, air and water pollution, risk to wildlife, and quality of life of local residents. Decent arguments all, but not focused on systemic AI risks. The two major AI companies, OpenAI and Anthropic, are currently losing large amounts of money by selling computations for far less than their actual cost. Here's a parenthetical remark in the letter. Estimates charging $1 to $3 for $13 of compute, close parentheses. Customers have chafed at attempts to raise prices. Furthermore, AI does not scale. Making it bigger does not reduce the price per customer. When these companies go public, there's no evidence that they can deliver the promised value to customers and still make a profit for shareholders. When you consider the risks posed by a Stamp data center, don't forget to add the uncertainty about the future of AI and how it may affect data center initiatives. The AI industry appears to be far less economically robust than its leaders would have us believe. Don't fall for their hype. And this is a letter to the editor from David Giacherio of Kent, New York. By the way, you are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Batavia Daily News online on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. On page A6 of the July 30th issue, there is one obit. I'll just give the dates, name and dates. William John Riley, 75 years old, of Lindenville, New York, who passed away peacefully on July 25th, 2026. Born on April 18th, 1951, died on July 25th, 2026. William John Riley. From page A7 of the July 30th issue, a page called On the Genesee Scene, an article introducing some summer art festivals in the area. It's called The Hands That Make Us, Let's Everyone Create Art, and the article's by Caitlin Lane. And she introduces some festivals that will feature local artists in the Genesee Valley area. And so I'll just give you the dates and a brief description that she gives. August 1st, probably passed by the time you hear this, the Lima Crossroads Festival. Then August 8th, Avon Rotary Corn Festival. LaShonda Davis will create the banner for Avon. August 9th, Springwater Community Day. Don Hooker Jr. will create the banner for Sparta. Ken Klaus will create the banner for Springwater. August 15th, Ossian Community Picnic. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. Ossian. Ossian. Christine Wolfanger will create the banner for Ossian. And then September 12th, Autumn in the Village, Livonia. Christine Wolfanger will create the banner. So apparently these festivals include local artists creating banners. From the sports page, page B1 of July 30th, just a little bit about a baseball game. Muck Dogs win West Division title, advance to PGCBL Championship. Batavia rallies late to beat Jamestown for back-to-back division crowns, by Ben Beagle. I'm just going to read the very beginning. I think that gives us the idea. Joey Socorro knocked in 2 runs with a 2-out single in the bottom of the 8th inning Tuesday night to provide the eventual winning run as the Batavia Muck Dogs rallied past the Jamestown Tarp Skunks 6-4 to advance to the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League Championship Series. I guess that's that PGCBL, Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League Championship Series. Socorro's hit gave the Muck Dogs breathing room in a game that had been tense all night. Let's have a look at the Wednesday, July 29th issue of the Daily News online. On the front page, Immigration Court in Batavia to close, by Justin Sondel. Politicians and advocates are raising concerns about upcoming changes to the immigration detention facility in Batavia. This week, the Executive Office of Immigration Review, the Department of Justice office that adjudicates immigration and deportation processes, announced It would close its courtrooms at the Department of Homeland Security-run detention center Friday, shifting those cases to the docket of immigration judges who operate out of the courtroom in downtown Buffalo. All cases that would have been held in the Batavia courtrooms will now be held virtually, according to the announcement. No one from the Department of Homeland Security replied to emailed questions about the changes. Representative Tim Kennedy, a Buffalo Democrat, declined a request for interview through a spokesperson this week, but provided a written statement on the closure of the immigration court. He said, "This is another example of the Trump administration putting politics ahead of due process." And I'll abbreviate that one there, and let's look into the paper. On page 2 of actually both the July 29th and July 30th, there are a number of photos from the Orleans County Fair, which may be closing up about now, I think. The photos are mostly kids with cows and pigs and sheep. From the local news page of the July 29th Daily News, page A3, a vintage truck show in Alexander. It's really a labor of love. Vintage truck show marking 40 years in Alexander, by Matt Sertel. Big trucks, major anniversary. The Empire State Truck Association has long focused on a different kind of auto collecting. Peterbilts, Freightliners, farm tractors, and other large but beloved examples of practical vehicles. They'll be returning this weekend for the 40th annual Antique Truck Show. The gathering's set for 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. I believe that would be August 1st and 2nd. Let me check that. Yes, Saturday and Sunday are August 1st and August 2nd at the Western New York Gas and Steam Engine Association grounds at 10294 Gillette Road. It might be Gillette, but it says Gillette here. Okay. Well, one more paragraph. We are grateful to all the show participants and volunteers who have helped keep this going as long as it has, said Vice President Mark McCarrick of the ESATA, Empire State Truck Association. The club is excited. 40 years is a long time, with only COVID causing a brief interruption since the first annual show in Buffalo before migrating to the Batavia area in 1996. So the show highlights vehicles with unique appeal: vintage tractor-trailers, pickups, fire trucks, and farm equipment from decades past. And I'll cut that one off there. Let's go on to the next article. The police blotter on page A3. Shall we have a look at that? Blotter, Batavia. Okay, here we are. Michael R. Powell, 39, of Splendora, Texas, was charged with third-degree grand larceny, Genesee County Sheriff's deputies said. Powell is accused of stealing more than $8,000 worth of tools from Walmart, where he had been employed. From Darien, Richard T. Cole, 64, of Rochester, was charged with DWI after an investigation into a two-car crash at Darien Lake Theme Park, Genesee County Sheriff's deputies said. He also was charged with felony aggravated unlicensed operation. Batavia. City police charged the following people. Zachary W. Williams, 33, of Batavia, was charged with felony criminal possession of a weapon and menacing for allegedly using a knife to threaten a person during an altercation on Thorpe Street, July 15th. And Stephen J. Godinho, 41, of Batavia, was charged with criminal contempt of court and felony aggravated family offense for violating an order of protection. Zachary J. Burke, 29, of Batavia, was charged with petty larceny for stealing from Aldi. Benjamin G. Evans, 37, of Batavia, was charged with petty larceny for stealing an e-bike from a porch on Manhattan Avenue. This would be in Batavia. He also was charged with misdemeanor drug possession. Alex Powell, 30, of Astoria, was charged with DWI. Thomas A. Culver, 47, of Bergen, was charged with misdemeanor drug possession for having crack cocaine during a traffic stop. Donald D. Ryan, 42, of Batavia, was charged with misdemeanor drug possession for having crack cocaine during a traffic stop. Maria L. Sanders, 49, of Batavia, was charged with DWI by drugs. David N. Hanna, 50, of Batavia, was charged with DWI. Tori D. Hamilton, 51, of Columbus, Ohio, was charged with DWI. Marky Flaming the 4th, 36, of Batavia, was charged on a warrant with menacing, felony possession of a weapon, endangering the welfare of a child, and harassment for punching a person while wearing brass knuckles with a child present. Dennis R. Ramsey, 47, of Batavia, was charged with burglary and petty larceny for entering a business where he had been banned and stealing items. David B. Hess, 39, of Alexander, was charged with DWI. Charlene M. Poole, 55, and Junior D. Benedict, 47, both of Batavia, were charged with misdemeanor drug possession for having crack cocaine during a traffic stop. Robert J. Dercu, D-E-R-C-Q-U, 25, of Batavia, was charged with petty larceny, resisting arrest, and obstruction for stealing from Dollar General, and then resisting while officers were taking him into custody. Stephen J. Willis, 50, of Geneseo, was charged with aggravated harassment for calling a gas station and threatening employees. Lazarus U. Sims, 54, of Syracuse, was charged with criminal possession of stolen property for having a license plate that was reported stolen. And finally, Christopher L. Wissinger, 53, and Diana L. Spinagle, 52, both of Leroy, were charged with misdemeanor drug possession for having crack cocaine during a traffic stop, and that's the police blotter for July 29th. Neither of the pieces on the opinion page is local, so I will skip them, but at the bottom of the page is a thought for the day from William Faulkner, the famous Southern author. William Faulkner says, "Don't bother trying to be better than others. Try to be better than yourself." A baseball report from the sports page. Muck Dogs outrun Auburn in playoff opener. Batavia victory sets up Tuesday rematch with Jamestown for West Division Championship. And this is from the July 29th Daily News. Just one paragraph. The Batavia Muck Dogs raced out to a 7-run lead after 3 innings Monday night en route to a 12-1 victory over the Auburn Doubledays in the quarterfinals of the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League's West Division playoffs. You're listening to a reading of articles and features from the Batavia Daily News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. And I am abbreviating many of these articles, so if I abbreviate, I'll tell you, and you can call us at 716-821-5555, and the remainder of the article will be read to you by a staff member. Now, stepping one day further back into the past, we started on July 30th, did some articles from July 29th, and now Tuesday, July 28th. The front page of the Daily News Online from Tuesday, July 28th. The Daily News Online serving Genesee, Wyoming, and Orleans counties. About a police chief from Batavia. I do not know how to pronounce his name. I'm going to try for Heubusch. It is spelled Heubusch. And the article is Heubusch leaving city job. Former police chief takes NYSACOP, NYSA cop role. NYSA cop is the New York State Association of Chiefs of Police, NYSACOP. The article is by Mike Pettinella. It's from Batavia, and here it is, part of it. After only 8 months on the job, Pavilion resident Sean Heubusch is stepping down as assistant city manager for the city of Batavia. Let's read that one again. After only 8 months on the job, Pavilion resident Sean Heubusch is stepping down as assistant city manager for the city of Batavia. Where is he going? The departure of Heubusch, who served as the municipality's police chief for 13 years before assuming the city's number 2 management position on December 1st, 2025, was announced in a press release on Monday afternoon from city manager Rachel Tabelski. Tabelski in the release said, "It was," quoting, "with a mix of sadness and pleasure that I am announcing the retirement of Heubusch," while also reporting that Heubusch will be taking a new position with the New York State Association of Chiefs of Police, NYSACOP, overseeing NYSACOP's statewide traffic safety program. Contacted by telephone on late Monday afternoon, Heubusch said it was a chance to return to the public safety arena. Quoting, "I had 25 plus years in law enforcement, and this opportunity with the state chiefs came along and I just couldn't pass it over," he said. "I get to go back to what my roots are, public safety." Heubusch said he will begin his new job on August 10th, 3 days after ending his tenure with the city. He declined to disclose the salary of the grant-funded position, but did say it was worth my while. I'll abbreviate that article there. Let's have a look at also on the front page. An overwhelming outpouring of love. Community rallies around Batavia family after fire at their Lewiston Road home. Mike Pettinella. Donations, acts of kindness, and prayers are pouring in for a Batavia church pastor and his family following a fire this past Thursday that caused extensive damage to their house at 7972 Lewiston Road. The home of Toby Nagel, I think, Nagel, the home of Toby Nagel, his wife Ray, 16-year-old son Ben, and 12-year-old daughter Quinn, is no longer habitable as a result of the blaze that started in the attached garage and quickly spread to the rest of the dwelling. Since then, they've been staying at the La Quinta Inn and Suites on Park Road in Batavia, while working with their insurance company and advocates to secure temporary or permanent housing. The family's dog, an Affenpinscher named Bella, and cats Penny, Peanut, and Pebble were removed from the structure and are safe, but unfortunately their other cat, Pumpkin, perished in the fire. Both Toby and Ray, in an exclusive interview with the Daily News on Sunday, said they are astounded by the support, financially, emotionally, and spiritually, they have received from their neighbors, church members, family, friends, and the community in general. "Amazing," Ray said, quoting, "We had someone connected with another church in the Syracuse area who went to Home Depot to get some bins, and Home Depot donated $100 worth of bins. People are giving us money. Toby came out of a store and someone recognized him and gave him money." Toby, who is the pastor of the Bridge Ministries Church at 243 South Swan Street, the former St. Nicholas Social Club, called the response an overwhelming outpouring of love. "It's unmanageable," he added, putting the word unmanageable, in a positive light. The messages and the phone calls. In a moment like this, you find out how big your reach, how big your circle is, and how much of an impact you've had on people's lives. Okay, let's abbreviate that one at that point. Page 2 is composed of a number of photos of cute kids and cute animals from the Orleans County Fair. Let's move on. From page A3 of the July 28th issue, the local news page, Genesee volunteers get tourism honor. Orleans County also receives recognition, by Sal Hauser. From East Bethany. For 20 years, a group of nearly 100 nature-loving volunteers has been sprucing up Genesee County's natural places. Now their work has earned the county a statewide tourism industry award. The Genesee County Association for the Conservation of Recreational and Natural Spaces, or ACORNS, that's the acronym for Association for the Conservation of Recreational and Natural Spaces, ACORNS. So the Genesee County Association for the Conservation of Recreational and Natural Spaces, or ACORNS, began in 2006 with a goal of stewarding and educating visitors about Genesee County parks. Today, the group has 98 members. The volunteers maintain bluebird boxes, organize events, and host talks and walks at Genesee County Park. And for the last 2 years, they've operated a youth program, Junior Acorns, along with county park staff. This year, the group's hard work earned a commendation for Genesee County, a Tourism Excellence Award for Sustainable Stewardship in the under $500,000 budget category from the New York State Tourism Industry Association. The accolade, one of 29 in the state, was awarded by a panel of 22 judges from across New York. A conservation program may not be the first thing that comes to mind for tourism, but tourism isn't just heads in beds in our hotels, NYSTIA President Bob Provost said. NYSTIA being New York State Tourism Industry Association. And that's what he told the Daily News on Wednesday. Going on, President Bob Provost of the New York State Tourism Industry Association also said, quoting, "Tourism is a tool. It's a means to an end, and you get involved in promoting tourism because it will create local jobs. It will add vitality to your community," he said. "It'll stimulate spending at local businesses, particularly small businesses. It'll increase the local tax revenues and lighten the burden on residents. And ultimately, if you're doing tourism right, you will improve the standard of living, quality of life, and pride of place for the residents." And let's abbreviate that one there. Here's a few short articles from the same local news page. Head-on collision injures 3 in Perry. 3 people were injured Friday evening in a head-on collision on Route 20A and Coe Road. Coe spelled C-O-E, Perry police said. 2 of the victims, a male and a female, were each taken by Mercy Flight to Strong Memorial Hospital. A second female was transported by ambulance to the Erie County Medical Center. Route 20A was closed during the response and investigation. Another short article, New Jersey man left dogs in hot vehicle, from Batavia. A New Jersey man is facing 11 charges after an animal welfare complaint Saturday night at Batavia Downs. It was reported about 7:23 p.m. that several dogs were locked in a vehicle, Genesee County Sheriff's deputies said. The dogs allegedly had no food or water and appeared to be suffering from heat exhaustion. The vehicle was not running, deputies said. Zachary Davis Jackson, 27, of Montague, New Jersey, was charged with 11 counts of confinement of a companion animal in a vehicle, extreme temperatures under New York State Ag and Markets law. Still on the local news page, woman faces felony assault charge. Orleans deputies credited with saving victim's life. From Carlton. Quick action by deputies likely saved a victim's life Saturday during a violent domestic incident. The incident was reported about 11:42 p.m., with the victim having suffered severe lacerations, Orleans County Sheriff's deputies said. Deputies arrived to find the victim suffering from significant lacerations and life-threatening blood loss. They immediately applied tourniquets and continued life-saving measures until emergency medical services arrived. The victim was taken to Strong Memorial Hospital. Following witness interviews and the execution of a search warrant, Alyssa M. Canne, C-A-N-N-E, 34, of Lyndonville, was taken into custody. She is charged with first-degree assault, second-degree menacing, fourth-degree criminal possession of a weapon, and endangering the welfare of a child. Now she's called Crane. Well, she's listed twice as Canne and once as Crane, so I think it's Canne. Canne was committed to Orleans County Jail pending arraignment. Carlton firefighters and Mercy EMS assisted at the scene. Sheriff Christopher M. Bourke is commending the initial responding deputies for their professionalism, composure, and decisive actions under extremely stressful circumstances. Their prompt response, quoting Bourke, the sheriff, their prompt response and immediate medical intervention are believed to have saved the victim's life, Bourke said in a news release. And you're listening to a reading of articles and features from the Batavia Daily News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Let's go on to the next page. I'm skipping over the opinion page because none of the opinion articles are local. On page A7 of the Tuesday, July 28th issue of the Daily News, we have some death notices, some actually obituaries. They're long. I will read the names and the locations. So there's Richard F. Mazur, M-A-Z-U-R, of Batavia, 95. Roger Dennis Logsdon, of 15 years old, of Wyoming. Grace Boyer, née Brew, of Bergen. And Roy Henry Grady, Jr., 72 years old, of Batavia. Going back now to the weekend edition published online on Saturday, July 25th of the Daily News Online. From the front page of that weekend edition, Double Trouble, Shake on the Lake's Comedy of Errors opens at Richmond Memorial Library, Batavia. Antipholus meet Antipholus, Dromio meet Dromio. Audience, meet an hour and a half of bewilderment, treachery, and madcap hat-switching in Shake on the Lake's adaptation of William Shakespeare's The Comedy of Errors. The Perry-based troupe opened its New York season in Batavia Thursday evening, presenting a 5-actor 1930s New Orleans take on the mother of all separated-at-birth tales. The Comedy of Errors follows the merchant Aegeon, played by Ladarius Lamar, who was long ago separated in a shipwreck from his wife, Emilia, played by Selina Mackenzie Gordon, One of their twin sons, both named Antipholus, Matt Duncan, and one of their twin servants, both named Dromio, played by Tim Cooper. The two pairs of sons and servants grow up in separate cities, one pair completely unaware of the other's existence until Aegeon of Syracuse arrives in the city of Ephesus in search of his lost family. Syracusans are not allowed in Ephesus, though, and Aegeon is quickly jailed, given until sunset to pay his way out of a death sentence. When the Syracusan Antipholus and Dromio arrive in the city just after Aegeon, they're quickly swept into the roles of their missing twins when Adriana, played by Catherine Greer, the Ephesian Antipholus' wife, brings the wrong twin home. From there, the mix-ups only escalate, engendering confusion, jealousy, accusations, a wrongful arrest, and a ticking clock on whether the pairs will discover each other before Aegeon is killed. Shakespeare's 432-year-old jokes, drawing from Roman comedies before him, still landed with the Batavia show's audience on Thursday, helped along by snapped suspenders, canoe paddling, jousting, and a sprinkle of flatulence. So let's abbreviate that one there. Must have been fun. Much less pleasant. Megan Cody was 4-H leader. Canisius woman resigned after child porn raid by Scott DeSmit. Canisius. A Canisius couple arrested and charged with producing child pornography gave a state police investigator detailed, graphic, and incredibly disturbing accounts of repeated sexual assaults of children while producing images and videos. Donald Cody, 40, and his wife, Megan Cody, 38, were each charged federally this week with production of child pornography, conspiracy to produce child pornography, and possession of child pornography. The charges carry a mandatory minimum penalty of 15 years in prison and a maximum of 30 years. What is detailed in the criminal complaints against the two could constitute even more serious charges. Let me go on to the page where this continues. Under New York law, the couple possibly could face state charges of predatory sexual assault against children, which carries a life sentence. Megan Cody is well known in the community and has served as a Cornell Cooperative Extension 4-H volunteer since 2017, including forming her own 4-H club. She was named 2021 Livingston County 4-H Volunteer of the Year. She most recently served on the board of directors. 4-H Executive Director Matt Cole said in a prepared statement that Cody, on June 25th, 2 days after state police raided her house, resigned as a group leader and member of the board. Let's abbreviate that one there. If you wish to hear the remainder, call us at Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service 716-821-5555, and we'll read the remainder to you. From page 2A2 of the July 25th weekend issue of the Daily News, Red Osier drops lawsuit against Sonny's. Both restaurants stand by their positions, by Sal Hauser. The Red Osier Landmark restaurant in Stafford on Thursday dropped a lawsuit in which it had accused Sonny's restaurant in Batavia and two former employees of stealing its secret recipes. The lawsuit, filed in Genesee County Supreme Court in February, accused Sonny's owner DJ Snyder and employees Nicole Granada and Justin Newmark of stealing secret recipes when Granada and Newmark left their previous jobs at the Red Osier. On Thursday, the parties filed a motion agreeing to close the lawsuit. There will be no out-of-court settlement, Sonny's lawyer Ted Graney said Friday. Let's abbreviate that one right there. From the local news page, A3, remains found in Florida identified as Dansville woman. Rose Marie Gayhart, reported missing in 1985, by Ben Beagle. Human remains found more than 2 years ago in a canal in Cape Coral, Florida, have been positively identified as Rose Marie Gayhart, Gayhart, as Rosemary Gayhart, a former Dansville resident who disappeared more than 40 years ago. The remains were identified by a laboratory in Texas using DNA from family members previously secured by the Livingston County Sheriff's Office. Gayhart was 23 when she was last seen on March 21, 1985, at her place of employment in Cape Coral, Florida. She was reported missing by her parents, who were living in Dansville. Quoting, "For more than 40 years, Rosemary Gayhart's family has carried the weight of not knowing what happened to her. While this identification brings long-awaited answers, it also strengthens our resolve. No matter how much time passes, even after 4 decades, our investigations do not stop and our pursuit of justice does not end," Cape Coral Police Chief Anthony Sizemore said in a statement. Sizemore said Gayhart's case is now considered an active homicide investigation. And I'll abbreviate that one there. Here's a short article from Warsaw. Bomb threat forces evacuation in Warsaw, New York, of course. Investigation is continuing into a bomb threat which resulted in a significant police response early Friday morning. Wyoming County Sheriff's deputies located a bomb threat note about 1:40 a.m. It had been attached to a traffic cone and left in the middle of the intersection of Hermitage Road and Route 20A. After inspecting the note, deputies responded to a residence on North Main Street in the village of Warsaw, where a bomb was described to be under a vehicle at the residence. An initial inspection of the vehicle did not locate any explosive devices. Out of an abundance of caution, the New York State Police Bomb Disposal Unit was called to the scene and neighboring residences were evacuated. Warsaw Village Police and state troopers assisted at the scene. Following a full inspection of the scene, no explosive devices were located and the scene was declared safe. The investigation is continuing and further details will be released as they become available, deputies said. And a bit of an article, this will have to be the end, but house damaged in 2-alarm blaze. Lawnmower believed responsible for fire. Batavia, a lawnmower is believed responsible for a fire which caused extensive damage to a house Thursday evening at 7972 Lewiston Road. The fire was reported about 5 p.m. after the mower caught fire inside the house's attached garage. Flames quickly enveloped the garage and spread to the house. Skipping just a little bit, the garage and a vehicle inside were destroyed while the house was damaged. Most of the house was burned up, but we saved a portion of the house. Bentley, the second assistant chief, said. No injuries were reported. Multiple area fire departments responded. And that's the end of my time. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from, the July 30th back through the July 25th issues of the Batavia Daily News online. We read from Batavia Daily News every Saturday at 9 a.m. Your reader has been Pat Connolly. Thank you for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the East Aurora Advertiser. At 11 o'clock, we have the Niagara Gazette. And at noon, we have the Dunkirk Observer. Stay with us for these readings and more throughout the day. Radio Reading mails out a large print program schedule to our listeners every other month. If you have not received a Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service large print program schedule in the mail, please call us at 716-821-55. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability